So this guy here is Amadou Onana, the 22-year-old Belgium and Everton midfielder, who I've been watching extremely closely over the past 12 months or so. Why have I been watching him closely? Well, because I think he could be a really good potential signing for Manchester United. And, if you believe the latest rumours, it appears as though the club agrees, with talks of a move for around £50 million potentially materialising over the next 6 to 7 months or so. So, today on the Scouting for United series, we need to look at Onana, look at his strengths, his weaknesses, his tactical fit in the side, and discuss whether or not he would be a good signing. And we're going to get straight into this and go to strengths. Amadou Onana, what are his main strengths? His physical profile. He is an elite physical profile. 6'4" tall in midfield. He towers over pretty much every single player in the Premier League that he plays against. He is just an absolute monster in the middle of the park. But the good thing is, he isn't just tall, he knows how to use his height and use his body. He is unbelievably good in the duel. He's very good at covering a lot of ground, very much a ground eater. And he's also very, very good in the air, again using that height. He uses those brilliant long legs of his to intercept passes, put tackles in. He is just a great physical profile in the midfield. And we know for a fact this is something which United are desperate for. Like, we look at Kobbie Mainoo, we look at Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount, Christian Eriksen, even Casemiro. All of them either are too small or don't cover a great amount of ground. Onana does both. He's very tall and covers ground brilliantly. And again, he is a ground eater. What is a ground eater? Someone who eats up the ground. Is pretty self-explanatory. He covers the space in the midfield incredibly well. And that allows him to make his team much more compact. And it also makes him a really valuable pressing tool as well. For example, if you want to press high up the pitch, you can leave him as your deepest midfielder. You kind of force the opposition long, and he's going to win headers in front of Lisandro Martinez all day long. So that's definitely a strategy. Or you can use him the other way around, and you actually push him high in the press. And you force the opposition to play into a certain trap, go into this area here, where you know Onana is going to win his duel 9 times out of 10. And that is actually backed up by the stats. First of all, we've got a comparison here using Data MB, a really good stats website and app, which I highly recommend. I will leave a link in the description down below. Definitely check out Data MB. We used it in stream the other day as well. Really, really useful. What we've got here, though, is Onana with the blue graph and Casemiro with the pink. And what I want you to focus on is the duel percentage. What percentage of their duels do they win? Onana, pretty much all of them. Casemiro, pretty much none of them. But it's not just Casemiro that Onana is superior to when it comes to winning duels. He's superior to pretty much every single midfield player in the Premier League. So along the bottom, we've got the aerial duel 1%. And along the top, we've got defensive duels 1%. You want to be up that way, towards the top right. Who is the closest player to being in the top right position? It's that player with a pink circle around him. Who is the player with the pink circle around him? It's this guy. He is, in my opinion, the best midfield duel winner in the Premier League, making him a super, super valuable tool for any side who needs someone to win the ball back in the centre of the park. Again, guess what? That's exactly what Manchester United need. Importantly, though, he's also good on the ball as well. This isn't just a good defensive player. I do like his possession side of the game as well. So, what is he good at in possession? Well, it actually kind of goes against what his initial profile suggests, because we're talking about a 6'4" midfielder here. But he's actually quite agile and actually pretty good on the turn. He's also got really good quick feet and he's good at shifting the ball. I think when a lot of people watch him, they kind of lazily label him as a poor technical player. But I think that's because he's not the most aesthetically pleasing. You know, he's not as aesthetically pleasing to watch as a Frankie de Jong or a Bernardo Silva. Of course he's not, he's 6'4" tall, but considering he is 6'4", he does have really good quick feet and he's very effective with the ball at his feet. So, in my opinion, it's a bit of a myth that he isn't good technically. What he's also good at is driving through the pitch. Again, he uses his brilliant height, his brilliant strength, and also, importantly, his stride length, making it very, very difficult for the opposition to get in and tackle him. He can really stride into space in the midfield. Now, what is the value of that? Well, a lot of teams these days in the Premier League use a man-to-man system in the midfield. And when you have a player like Onana, who 9 times out of 10 can beat his man, and win his individual battle, you get the ball up the pitch. It's quite simple, really. You break the opposition structure simply because of your ability to carry the ball forward. And again, it's that athletic frame, which really allows him to do that. He's also good with his passing, for example, as well, though. Now, I don't think he's a specialist in this area, but for example, his long passes, 78.1% completion rate, ranking in the 92nd percentile. So, whilst I don't think passing is his speciality, I don't think it's a real strength of his. I think it's still an area he's pretty decent. I would like to see growth in that way in the future, in that department. But in general, he is a good player on the ball. So what are the positives of Onana so far? First of all, we've got the fact that physically he is just a bit of a freak. He's got good defensive reading of the game, good understanding, he covers a lot of ground, he wins the ball in the air, he allows you to play a high pressing system. On the ball, we've got the fact that he is, again, tall and strong, uses the ball well, but he's also very technical. It's a myth that he's not technically gifted. He is good with the ball at his feet, as shown with his long passing, but also his ball carrying ability. However, like all players, he does have weaknesses. For example, I don't think he is a high volume midfielder, someone which has 80 to 90 touches in a game. I'm not sure that's him. I also don't think he is a first phase specialist, which is perhaps a problem, and I also don't think he's particularly creative in the final third. However, we can address some of those problems by doing one simple thing at Manchester United. And what is that? Playing him alongside Kobbie Mainoo and building a midfield double pivot around these two for the future. And importantly, it's about having a double pivot. Giving United two presences on the second phase in midfield, I think is something really important. Now, like I've said already, I don't think Onana is a first phase specialist, but that's hopefully not too much of a problem with Kobbie Mainoo there. Now, I would still like to see Onana grow and try and develop in this area, but I don't think it's a massive problem if we use Kobbie Mainoo. Kobbie Mainoo can be the primary first phase receiver, with Onana sometimes dropping in to help out as well, where he's perhaps then used as a wall pass, a bounce option, where he keeps things a little bit simpler, whereas Kobbie Mainoo is the one who tries and twist and turn. I think that could work quite nicely. Onana could also be useful out of the press in a different way as well. Let's say we've got our deep players trying to play the ball out from the back, perhaps even Bruno Fernandes could drop a little bit deeper, then send Onana long. We know that Ten Hag doesn't mind the occasional long ball up towards the forwards. Having Onana and Højlund as two target men in that situation is quite promising, so that could definitely work as well. So I don't think the first phase issues is a massive problem. I think Onana would be okay in that area. The next issue I had was that he isn't a high volume player. But again, I think that's okay if you've got Kobbie Mainoo in the side. Let's say United were to build possession in a back three, and the back three we would use is to be discussed another day. But let's say we were to use a system which looks something a little bit like this. Having a midfield base of Kobbie Mainoo and Onana is really promising. Kobbie Mainoo being the one which controls the tempo, dictates the game, kind of dominates the speed of the game. So when to slow it down, when to speed it up, really controlling the tempo, understanding when to play forward as well. You've then got Onana, who's going to keep things a little bit simpler on the ball. Again, perhaps more of a bounce pass player or a wall pass player. Two-touch football, just keeping it simple, giving it to someone else. Occasionally using that long passing, which we saw earlier on in the video. But importantly, using that driving ability in the midfield, that ability to drive forward with the ball. That is definitely something which could be useful. In terms of the lack of creativity in the final third, it's less of a problem if he's playing deep in a double pivot. So I think, again, that's okay because we've got enough other players who are pushing forward, creating chances in the final third. So I don't really think that is an issue. In terms of Onana, he is a player who I need to research more. I need to kind of focus on more of the intricacies and the fine details of his game. But in general, this is the sort of profile which United should be signing. In terms of the fact that he's only 22 years old and he's got Premier League experience, that is a massive tick in an important box there. That is exactly what we need. But it's that 6'4" frame, that ball-winning ability, that ground-eating ability. United desperately need that in the midfield, and no one at the club currently gets close to it. Scott McTominay is probably the closest thing, but he pretty much plays up front these days. Onana is a ground-eating, space-eating, pitch-covering ball winner, duel winner. Unbelievably good in the air. He brings huge value at set pieces at both ends. We haven't even discussed that today. He's brilliant in both boxes as well. I really do think there is the potential for this to be a really very good signing. It's a signing which I would probably recommend to Manchester United. I think in terms of looking at central midfielders at the moment, he would be in my top 2 or 3, which I would recommend for the club in terms of that big, powerful midfielder, which we so desperately need to play alongside Kobbie Mainoo. These two have the potential, if Onana can develop certain parts of his game, these two have the potential to really develop an incredible understanding and therefore an incredible partnership at the heart of the midfield for a long time. So, the conclusion of this Scouting for United series is that Onana would be a good signing for Manchester United to make. Just yet, I'm not going to go as far as absolutely recommending him, because I think there's flaws in his game. I think a lot of people see him as a 6, whereas I personally don't, not as a lone 6. So So I need to watch him more, like I've said already. We need to focus on the finer details. But for now, I think I would recommend this signing. Let me know, though, what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you think this is a signing that Manchester United should make or not? If you do, why? If you don't, why? Let me know what you think in the comments. But apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.